I remember the day mostly because it started so forgettably. My wife and I had stopped at a small store on the way home from running errands. It wasn't planned. Just one of those places you pull into because you suddenly remember you're out of something. The afternoon felt ordinary. Traffic humming outside, fluorescent lights buzzing faintly overhead. She picked up a few things while I carried them to the counter. As I started paying, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and gave a quick apologetic smile before stepping away. "I'll be right there," she said quietly. I nodded without thinking much about it. People take calls. It wasn't unusual. I focused on the small routine of paying, the cashier scanning items, the soft chirp of the register, the receipt sliding out. I counted my change and gathered the bag. When I turned toward the door, I expected to see her finishing the call nearby. Instead, she had moved farther down the store, near a row of coolers, standing with her back partly turned. I didn't think twice about it. I headed for the exit. That was when the security guard approached me. He was older, well into his 70s, I guessed. The kind of man whose posture still held traces of authority, even though age had softened it. His uniform looked a little loose around the shoulders, and his gray mustache gave him a serious expression that didn't quite match the gentleness in his eyes. He stopped beside me, but didn't block my path. "Excuse me?" he said quietly. I paused. He nodded slightly toward the far side of the store. "Is that your wife?" I followed his glance. She was still on the phone, pacing slowly. "Yes," I said. He studied my face for a moment, as if confirming something for himself. Then he said something unexpected. "Come with me. You need to see something yourself." There was no urgency in his voice, no accusation either. Just a calm certainty. For a second I wondered if she had done something wrong, maybe knocked something over or accidentally taken something without paying. But the guard didn't look irritated or suspicious. Just deliberate. Curiosity outweighed hesitation, so I followed him. He led me a short distance behind the counter to a small monitor mounted near the wall, the kind used for store cameras. The screen showed several angles of the store floor. He pointed to one of them. On the screen, my wife was visible near the coolers, exactly where she was standing now. At first it seemed pointless. I was looking at something I could already see across the store. Then he reached over and tapped a button. The footage rewound slightly. "She moved there a minute ago," he said quietly. "I just thought you should see." I frowned slightly, still not understanding. The video played again. This time I paid closer attention. I watched her step away from the counter area, glancing briefly around before turning her back toward the open part of the store. She lowered her voice as she spoke into the phone. It wasn't suspicious in the obvious sense. But it had a kind of privacy to it, a carefulness that didn't match the casual call I'd assumed it was. The guard adjusted the monitor volume slightly. The store wasn't meant to record conversations clearly, but a nearby microphone caught pieces of sound, not full sentences, fragments. "No, he's right here." A pause. "I told you it's not like that." Another pause, longer this time. "Just give me time." I felt something tighten quietly in my chest. The guard didn't look at me while the audio played. He simply watched the screen. Then another piece of her voice came through. "I'll call you later tonight." There was a name in the sentence before it. I couldn't make it out completely. But it wasn't mine. The footage ended with her slipping the phone into her pocket and smoothing her expression before turning back toward the front of the store. For several seconds neither of us spoke. The strangest part wasn't anger. It was recognition. Something about her posture on the video. How guarded she looked, how deliberate her movements, felt like seeing a private version of someone I thought I knew completely. I realized the guard was watching my reaction. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked quietly. He folded his arms loosely. "I've been working security a long time," he said. "You start noticing things." He paused before continuing. "Sometimes people walk out of here not knowing something important just happened 10 feet away from them." There was no judgment in his voice, just observation. "I figured if it were me," he added, "I'd want the chance to see it." I looked back at the screen. The footage had already looped back to a wide view of the store, customers moving normally, carts rolling past aisles. Nothing about the scene looked significant anymore. Yet something had shifted. Not dramatically, not loudly, Just enough that I couldn't pretend I hadn't seen it. "Thank you," I said finally. The guard nodded once, as if that was all he expected. I stepped away from the monitor and walked toward the front of the store. She was standing near the door now, holding the shopping bag I'd left by the counter. When she saw me coming, she slipped her phone into her purse. "Hey," she said casually, "what took so long?" For a moment I simply looked at her. Her expression was normal, relaxed. The same face I'd shared 1,000 quiet mornings with. But now I noticed small things I'd never paid attention to before, the way her smile arrived a fraction too late, the brief moment her eyes searched my face before settling. "Nothing," I said. We stepped outside together. The parking lot looked exactly the same as when we'd arrived. Cars moving slowly between rows, sunlight reflecting off windshields. She started talking about something ordinary, dinner plans, I think. Maybe traffic on the way home. I listened. But the rhythm of the conversation had changed for me. Not because of what I knew. Because of how calmly the truth had revealed itself. There had been no confrontation. No dramatic discovery. Just a quiet screen in the corner of a store and an old man who decided I deserved to see it. As we reached the car, she opened the passenger door and slid inside. I stood there for a moment longer before getting in. The engine started, the radio hummed softly. She continued speaking about the rest of the day as if nothing had shifted. And maybe for her, nothing had. But for me, the ordinary afternoon had opened a small crack in something I once believed was solid. Not enough to break everything. Not yet. Just enough that I could no longer pretend the surface told the whole story.